Wave 3 of the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass has arrived, and boy do I have some things to say about it. In this video, I'm going to talk about each track individually and give my honest opinion on each and every one of them. Before I do that though, I just want to say how much I love this update. Not because of the new tracks, but because of the ability to turn individual items on and off. This feature is so much fun to screw around with, and it actually makes it so that playing against CPUs is fun. Blue shells only is my new favorite way to play Mario Kart. Anyway, without further ado, let's get into the new tracks. London Loop is the first track featured in Wave 3. Now, this track might seem confusing at first, especially if you worry too much about what the map looks like, but once you get the hang of the layout, it's not so bad. I never played this track in Mario Kart Tour, much like many of the other Tour Nitro tracks, but all I know is London Loop in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is phenomenal. The foggy atmosphere makes this track stand out against most of the other city tracks in the game so far, and I love the way the chain chomps get loose on the final lap, adding an extra layer of difficulty to it. When I first played this track, I knew it was going to be one of my favorites in the entire DLC. I thought Sydney Sprint was good, but this is incredible. Next up, we got Boo Lake. Now, like with a lot of the other GBA courses in this game, they made some significant changes to this track. And yes, while it does include changes that make it more modern, if you compare the map to the original version, it's clearly been simplified. But this time, it's not as big of a deal because you barely notice it anyway. At least it's not another Sky Garden situation where it's completely unrecognizable. It also doesn't necessarily get the Cheese Land and Ribbon Road treatment where it's a huge glow up, but that's fine by me because what they did do with it is quite impressive. They also did an amazing job with the visuals, making it feel like a haunted themed track. And for the first time, they actually properly implemented anti-gravity. Others may complain that it didn't need it because it was only slightly slanted, but who cares? I'm just glad it's not like Sky High Sunday where they activated it for the entire track for literally no reason. But really, for a simple track, this is one of the most fun ones out of the entire DLC so far. Rock Mountain was never my favorite track. I only ever had access to Mario Kart 7 for about a month, but honestly this track was just kinda forgettable to me. At first, I thought this track looked very ugly, even by Booster Pass standards, but honestly I was surprised by how much fun I had on it. I really don't know exactly what it is I like so much about it here, but when I'm gliding my way down the mountain I feel like I'm having the time of my life. I also love that huge off-road shortcut that puts dry desert to shame. I can't wait to make use of that to make incredible comebacks online. Overall, despite the attention to detail that this track lacks, it's an amazing experience. I know I've said this several times before in previous videos, but I never enjoyed Mario Kart Wii. I wasn't a big fan of many of the gameplay elements and the physics of the game, but I do think it has some of the best courses in the series. Maple Treeway was my favorite out of all of them. Amazing graphics, catchy music, and it was the one track that I was actually good at. Now it's in Mario Kart 8, and I love every aspect of it. At first, I thought it might have been a little overscaled, primarily on top of the tree with the wigglers, but the more I played on it, the more it felt alright. I am also happy with the return of the half pipes, even if it is much slower than just taking the turn normally. At least they put in some items there to make it a little more worth taking this time. I kinda had some mixed feelings on the music though. On the one hand, it's a great remix of one of my favorite melodies in the entire Mario Kart series, but I guess it just feels a little emptier than the original version, mainly in the first half of the song. I wasn't sure how I felt about it when I first played the trailer. It just felt kinda off, but I'm sure it'll grow on me eventually. Berlin Byways was one city track that I've been waiting for since the Booster Course Pass was first announced, just for the music alone. Kinda like Maple Treeway, I wasn't sure how I felt about the remix at first. The brass section towards the beginning of the song seemed a bit too poppy, I guess. But once I heard the rest of it, I knew that they did this song justice. As for the track itself, I gotta say it was predictably confusing. I mean, even Mankler had a hard time coming up with a good route for the track before it came out. And when you look at it, you can really understand why. I'm sure even the track designers were having aneurysms trying to figure out how to explore the whole map in 3 laps. It couldn't have been easy to come up with what they did. But what Berlin Byways ended up becoming, as complicated as it is, ended up being one of my favorite courses in the game. I'm not sure which I like more, this or London Loop. It might not seem like much, but I really love how the route meets up with itself at the end of lap 2. And if you're far enough ahead, you can even interact with players further behind. I can't wait to get a clip of me dropping a first place bomb directly in front of the person in last place. As of right now, the only thing I can think of that I don't like about the track is the train on the first lap being way too small to drive through, even on 150cc. The double item box in there is not worth the hassle of trying to drive through that tight space. But other than that, this track is very good. I think it's safe to say that nobody expected Peach Gardens to turn out as good as it did. Sure, it looks amazing, and yeah, it was simplified a bit, but I was thrown way off guard when I first saw those arrows at the start of lap 3, telling me to go the other way. I didn't even notice that that path was even there. Apparently, that path has always been there, even in the original DS version, but I've never noticed it before. Now they're actually using it to go the other way around, that's amazing! As much valid criticism as the Booster Course Pass receives, the way it redesigned some of these older tracks is very clever. And the fact that they even did it to Peach Gardens is so surprising. It turned a very mediocre track into something completely different. This actually gave me some inspiration from next Minecraft remake, so stay tuned for that. Even though I've never played Merry Mountain and Mario Kart Tour before, I've been looking forward to it since the beginning of the DLC. I think it was very obvious that they were going to add it into Wave 3 no matter what, at least to me, because it was clear that Wave 3 was going to be released right around the time that it was. November, December, whenever it was going to be, Merry Mountain was going to be in it. Now, I think this track is good, but it's not anything super special. I mean, I can't even think of anything to talk about with it. Other than the flying train, there's not really anything too memorable about it. It's Christmas themed, but that's about it. I'm not really sure what else to say. As I said before, I didn't play Mario Kart 7 very much, but I have always loved what they did with its Rainbow Road. I was absolutely stoked when they officially announced that it was being added into this game. It looks so good in Mario Kart 8. I'm even tempted to say that it looks so good that it could have even been a base game track and it would fit right in. The track itself wasn't changed too much, but it didn't really need to be because out of all the Rainbow Roads in the series, they chose the best one to add into this game. If this game is going to have multiple Rainbow Road tracks, at least it finally has another actually good one. I think it's safe to say that so far, Wave 3 is the best wave yet. There's not a single track featured in Wave 3 that I don't like, and each and every one of them are very fun to play on. That's not something I was able to say about the other two waves, especially after time went on. Do you agree? If so, leave a like on the video, and check out my channel for my regular content. Subscribe if you haven't done so already, and I will see you guys next time.